Hello, this is Johnny Cycles with CyclesGaming.com, bringing you another edition of Keeping Modern Janky. This time we're trying out a mono greenish Colossal Rattlewurm deck. It's just beating face, and I like this hand. We don't have ramp, but we have a Hex Drinker, which is often not at its best on turn 1, depends on what we're playing. We have the Fatal Push in case our opponent is a Ragavan, and we have mana to cast our spells, so yeah, I mean, it's not going to be the fastest hand, but it does stuff. I wouldn't mulligan this just to find a Utopia Sprawl. We only play 4 of those. Just a little bit of ramp that can really power up this deck. We are into our 5th practice match. Probably our last one. And it's been fun. The deck's fun. I'm not sure how competitive it's going to be against some of the best decks out there, but and now are we in... Is this Hammer Time or Control? There is no Jangatha. Or is it something altogether else? Typically, Hex Drinker is not at its best on turn 1 because it can just get killed by just anything. But then if you are going to spend your turns after pumping it, instead of doing something else, then a lot of times the opponent just kills it in response. However, since we don't really have anything going on, prop the case not bad. Alright, so we're getting some removal. So we may run out this Hex Drinker just to get a clock and force out a removal spell. Maybe they have a removal light hand, who knows. And we can spend some turns pumping it up to get it protection from instants. I've said it before playing this deck, for a card like Hex Drinker with these leveling up to be competitive in today's modern, it really needs to be leveling at instant speed. But I don't think Wizards is at all interested in making that happen. Alright, so now we're at a Bant. It's a Bant deck. Playing... is that a cycling deck? Waker of the Waves. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them to your hand and the other into your graveyard. A lot of lands there. It does look to be like a cycling deck. Or a Cascade. Living End, I suppose, is the right word for it. Cascade into Living End. That could happen next turn, and we don't have any way to stop it. We can level up our Hex Drinker, though. Boom! Got him! Oh, gosh. This is where we played Indomitable Creativity last match, and it was a lot closer than I thought it would be. But I will say that the mono green-ish Stompy deck can compete pretty well with like the fair-ish style decks that play creatures and removal and counter magic and stuff. Like, it can keep up, it can kill some things, it can pressure your opponent's life total. But the decks that are looking to do busted things like Cascade, Living End, Indomitable Creativity, it's a lot harder. You definitely need your sideboard pieces, and even then, like we saw against our Indomitable Creativity, we had the Endurance to nerf their Persist plan to get the Archon back, and they just untapped on turn 4 and played Indomitable Creativity to get an Archon, so we didn't have the Thoughtseize to take that out of their hand, even though they actually had 2. So yeah, they just had it all. It's hard to beat opponents who have it all, but the unfair decks this deck is going to struggle against, and Modern is obviously full of a lot of unfair decks. Like, it's too slow to beat Amulet Titan for the most part. It's probably going to be slow to beat this Cascade nonsense. And Channel isn't an instant, so it has to have protection from everything before that matters. Do we want to get a double black? I think maybe, since we have 2 black spells. You never know. This Abrupt Decay might do something. And I don't think our life total is going to matter that much, to be honest. I think once they kill us, they're going to kill us in one shot with getting a whole bunch of things back. It is possible that they can't find a cascade piece, and that we can start pressuring their life total. They're already at 14. Next turn we can attack, if the best laid plans, attack for 5, hold up a flashy Colossal Rattlewurm. This is the kind of deck that I'm going to try and pioneer now that I'm testing out the Pioneer Waters in my new column, Pioneer Curious. So check it out over on psychosgaming.com. It has a lot of power, but it plays like an old school modern deck. Grindy. Here comes the Cascade spell into Living End. Yeah. Can our guys keep up with their guys? I mean, this is a 7/7. That's a 6/5. So, I mean, and we lose our Steel Leaf champion. So yeah, this one's over. We'll see what we draw though. It's always fun to see what you draw, right? And this would be that, yeah, we're just not gonna be. We can't play on the same axis as our opponent in the main. We do have a Thoughtseize that can get us there. We could theoretically, that's got flying. So, I mean, we're just dead. Alright, we'll go to game 2. This game 2, we can bring in Endurances. And Veils of Summer to help protect, and Thoughtseizes. I mean, there's a couple things. We have the tools. This is why I splash for black, first of all. We have some tools to fight against the unfair decks. Fatal Pushes out. That's one reason to splash for black in a deck like this. Maybe just go down, like trim a little bit on the creature. We're going to keep Abrupt Decay in just for, I don't know why. I mean, it's a good catch-all against some problematic stuff that maybe they're going to bring in against us. It could be a dead card over. Maybe we just take that out in favor of Assassin's Trophy, since Assassin's Trophy at least can kill some of their big threats. We're going to be leaning really heavily on these Endurances. Now, it seems like the Cascade decks have been, for a while, kind of after the ban went away, and now I've been playing more and more of them, so it's possible that I still keep the Graveyard 8 in the sideboard, but it's possible to go up to 4 is the right answer for Endurance. I almost been looking at this deck before playing this morning, I was thinking, alright, how can I make room for Damnation? If I take out Assassin's Trophy, trophies that leave us dead to like a Tron. If I take out Endurances, it leaves us dead to Graveyard Shenanigans. Oh, but yeah, we're always going to be struggling against the unfair decks with a deck like this. We are playing a totally fair, mid-range-ish, I should say, deck. It's aggro mid-range in the sense that we do play some 1/2 drops into 3 drops. But it's a creature-based strategy looking to attack and win through combat without going over the top. So, anyway. This will be my last match of the game. We're heading out to a wedding. Traveling to a wedding. Flying for the first time with my youngest kid. It should be interesting. Hopefully he won't totally harass all the people next to us. Hopefully our opponent will come back and play. I did get an alert that Magic Online was going to take a break. And I clicked through it too quickly to find out when. Hopefully not now, because I would like to finish our match. Alright, it's good to know if with sideboard plans and if you draw your sideboard cards, if you can actually keep up with your opponents. So this is a hand that, we don't do anything right away. Our first play is a turn 2 Hydra as a 1/1. So yeah, we're going to mulligan that in favor of trying to find some sideboard hate. Alright, well, we'll keep. We don't have graveyard hate, but we do have kind of a nice little Assassin's Trophy. I don't know if we really want an Assassin's Trophy in our hand because it answers. It was basically in there because it didn't have any. It was either that or another Hex Drinker. Leyline. Interesting. I wonder why they would bring a Leyline in against us of all people. Come on, man. What are we doing with the graveyard? Maybe they saw Golgari and are thinking, well, they must be a graveyard hate or graveyard shenanigans deck. Maybe they're Weird Cascade deck too, playing Hex Drinker for some reason. Alright, well, I mean, see if we can find some. I mean, we still need a land. I think we're going to go for our opponent's life total and save this Thoughtseize for next turn before they get to Cascade. It allows us to, if we draw a land, play the Kiora and untap the Overgrown Tomb to cast the Thoughtseize. Our opponent's like, oh, wait a minute, they're just a green beatdown deck who plays Werewolf Pack Leader. It's true, this I've tempted to make into Tarmogoyf. We're not playing Nykthos. We don't need a double green. Tarmogoyf scales bigger. This guy does draw his cards and gives us something to do with our mana late game. Becomes a 5/3 with trample. And can draw his cards in the right spot, but overall I'm not sure if that's just too slow against most decks. I'm assuming they're going to have some kind of bounce spell, which is where we would love to see a Veil of Summer if we don't draw a land here. Yep. Alright, thank you. I'm ready. I'd love to recast that Werewolf Pack Leader. Give us a land deck. A land. We played 23 of them. It's an endurance. Well, okay. If it's not a land, I guess we will take an endurance. That does help us against their strategy. It's a Fairy Time Raveler, Ardent Plea. Yeah, I mean, we have to take the Fairy because we can't cast our endurance if we take anything else. We'll level this guy up since we're missing land drops and don't have anything else to do. So yeah, the endurance is great because it gives us some amount of interaction with our opponent's game plan. Missing land drops is really painful though. So that is not something that, it's not a recipe for success, as anyone who's played any Magic knows. So they'll play a land here. They'll pitch this Waker of the Waves and get ready to Ardent Plea next turn, I imagine. And we really want, we just really want to land. I can keep saying it. Yep. A land into Kiora. Force negation. Alright. So we got a land. So land into Kiora gives us if we draw into another land, the bigger Gold Vein Hydra, and we have to pitch the Werewolf Pack Leader to Endurance, or we can just hold up this Endurance, flash it in next turn. I mean, it's such a big telegraph. They know we have they know we have the Werewolf Pack Leader. We could level this up to protection from instants, but they play these channel spells that don't do anything. That don't care about it being instants or not. I think we're definitely attacking, so we might as well do that. I mean, telegraph or not, I don't want to just empty our hand for a single endurance. They're gonna know we have it, but that doesn't mean they're not gonna go for it. I guess it just depends on what's in their hand. I mean, if they have the counter spell in their hand, yep, cycling, good, then they may hold off. Alright, they're just gonna go for it. So this does mean that we lose our board, including the endurance, but at least we're not getting 2 for 1, 4 for 1 if we had to pitch the Werewolf Pack Leader. We would have a QR out though, which would have given us a chance to Gold Vein Hydra. Maybe they bring in the ley lines because that lets them do multiple living ends without getting punished by our giant green creatures. Alright, that's starting to make sense. So bring in ley lines so that when our first group of creatures go to the graveyard, they get exiled rather than being there. I think that's how it's going to work, because they get exiled by the living end, and then they get put in the graveyard from anywhere. So then they're going to get exiled, and that way when they do another living end, we don't get a board full of green creatures that are bigger than or comparable to their creatures. Maybe they're playing rhinos. No, all right. So we still want to, hopefully they don't have another force negation. I don't know. It seems like they would have pitched. Ooh, Utopia Sprawl is good. So we can Utopia Sprawl and Werewolf Pack Leader. And then next turn, or no, we can Utopia Sprawl and Kiora and Werewolf Pack Leader. So that's what we're going to do. Hopefully. And hopefully our opponent didn't find another Cascade spell. Anytime soon at least. So then Werewolf Pack Leader's back. Next turn, if everything goes well, next turn we will draw a card and make a big Hydra and start almost get our opponent dead. What are their last cards? Do they have, so they can cycle. They also have those bounce spells, so maybe a Veil of Summer would be really nice to help protect our life total. We could also just invest our mana in that to be able to make it a 5/3. Alright, so our sideboard card is keeping us alive. Now can we close out the game? And that's the way this deck plays against the unfair decks. We lean heavily on our sideboard cards. And if we're unable to close out the game or string together enough of the sideboard hate, then we end up dying anyway. Another endurance. That gives us something. Alright, we'll see. We're going to go for it with the Hydra, and if they have a bounce spell, we should... Oh, it's only when it dies. Oh well. At least we'll still pressure their life total. And we'll draw a card if it enters the battlefield. So they're close to dead, assuming they don't have some sort of answer. Is it a cryptic command? Subtlety. We definitely want to draw that again. And we will trade. If they want to trade. They want cards in their graveyard, so they probably will. And if, alright, good. Because otherwise they could put our cure down to 1. And then we wouldn't get to draw a card off of it. If when we went to untap this, it would kill it. So we would get a big Hydra, but we wouldn't draw a card. Alright, what you got, homie? You got a Subtlety in the graveyard. We got an Endurance, which is our second. Like I said, we need multiple pieces as far as graveyard hate goes in order to interact. And now we are looking at, unfortunately, our opponent filling the graveyard again to allow them to, and they have the 3rd mana. They could just go for it right now, and we only have the 1 card. We don't have anything to pitch for the Endurance. All right, well, it's possible they didn't find it. Now, what this is, we're going to risk it, though. We're going to go for, because we got to try to close out this game. With the Endurance in hand, what we're going to try to do is cast the Goldvein Hydra, draw a green card with it, and then have it to pitch to the Endurance to protect ourselves from their next Cascade spell. Will it work? Do they have another Subtlety? We'll probably draw a land and be max punished when they go for it on their turn. Or they have a bounce spell and then it returns to our hand, and then we have that to pitch to Subtlety, or to Endurance. Alright, so another reminder that Magic Online is taking a break, and I saw it this time, it's in 4 hours. Alright, well, we got a green card, so everything's going to plan currently. Opponent goes to 4, and maybe they think that they're going to win, and they might still, because they get to kill everything with their living end, not just get a whole board back. Now, if they do kill everything, we'll get a lot of treasures, although it gets exiled, so we don't get the treasure tokens. Another cycling, yeah, digging. Veil of Summer, if they don't kill this, would be nice. Still digging. And then we will have ample top decks that can just kill them with haste, both another Hydra or a Questing Beast. Grief is on the stack. So we will cast Endurance in response. See, we have some Evoke Elementals. If that's all they have going on this turn, then I think they're dead, and I wonder if that's what they're deciding. Man, we're struggling with our fair strategy just to grind out a win. And then if we do get a win, it's going to be them on the play. And yeah, you never know what's going to happen. But still, we don't have ley lines. Maybe that's what we need. Endurance seems like a better fit for our deck. But then in a situation like this, ley line would have been way better. That's a really good play from our opponent. That's a blowout, really, because then it puts the Goldvein into our hand so they can take it with a Grief. Alright, well, we still have a lot of live draws. It's not I mean, that's fine. I mean, we expected some answer, right? That was pretty sweet little combo, though, from our opponent. Hopefully we'll hit a questing beast or another gold vein hydra. That would be our ideal. One card in hand, 2 life. Any threat right now is going to be potentially lethal. Well, that is not a threat. All right, but hey, it's a potential. It can add. I mean, 2. Everything in our deck hits for 2, so we don't need it. But it does let us play with at flash speed. All right, what do they got going on now? What is their last 2 cards? Are they way better than ours? Obviously, it's not hard to be better than a land. Oh, Raymondot Ruins. We were doing Gruul version, and maybe that would have been our draw. We could have killed him. Well, we were 1 turn away from winning that game. If that had been any of our hasty threats, it would have been over. With the 1 card in their hand, they couldn't have, even if it was subtlety, they'd have nothing to pitch to it. So, to me, especially with these janky decks, I think we're very much unfavored in these types of matchups. But to be in a position where drawing one of our 6 remaining hasty creatures to win the game is a sign that the deck is competitive. Granted, we had to hit our sideboard pieces, but Assassin's Trophy. I mean, I guess we can Assassin's Trophy a Grief if they play one, or we can get rid of this ley line if we're really going to go long, which is possible. Although, I mean, my kids are going to be up soon. Both of my matches this morning have gone kind of long. Long and grindy. They're at the place where they can start hard casting some things, probably. Sure. Interesting. Does that mean they have a living? Guess they never want to cast it anyway, so. Alright, do we draw a threat? Or do we draw more in? Oh, not another Kiora. We're going to save it because that gives us something to pitch to another Endurance if we draw one. Alright, so we're drawing answers and support pieces when we really need creatures. And we did take out a couple Hex Drinkers and all the Werewolf Pack, or most of the Werewolf Pack leaders. But we still have a deck full of creatures. Opponent must just be so happy that we're not doing anything. They're at 2. As they refill their graveyard with things that can kill us. Our opponent's thinking, there's no way they have another Endurance. It would be nice. I'd rather just have a questing beast. I always want a questing beast, though. What a good card. Alright. I mean, at this point, they've probably found so many ways to interact with any threat we draw that it's... Oh, another land. Oh, this is such a painful way to go down, too. I almost just want to scoop it up. I feel like we're, at this point, like 95% sure to lose, having missed on so many. We drew land, Assassin's Trophy, Kiora, land. So we had our opponents fill in their hand with ways to interact and rebuild while we're doing what we're doing, which is nothing. Maybe they'll shock themselves. Oh well, no luck there. Opponent's got to be thinking, do I go for it? Do I just pull the trigger? After we got him twice. Oh man. I mean, what we'll do is Assassin's Trophy the biggest thing. Pump fake. And with the grief trigger on the stack, Assassin's Trophy the Waker of Waves, and then see what we draw. But I think at this point, our chance to draw anything to get out of this and win this game is long since passed. I'm sure opponent's just happy that we didn't have another endurance. Alright, so technically this puts us on a 2-turn clock versus a dead clock. But we need to hit something like, we really need to hit Gold Vein Hydra, or is the draw we need. And that way, because it has trample, they would have to double block to stay alive, and then they'll be down to 1 threat, and then we'll need to chain that together into another Gold Vein Hydra and our Questing Beast. Questing Beast is also acceptable. I mean, at this point it doesn't really matter, right? It might, because of this 3/3 +3/+3. So if we do a Gold Vein Hydra and they get greedy, we could theoretically play one, give it +3/+3. Although at this point, just the 3 mana would be, just give it permanent +3/+3. But let's say it's a Questing Beast instead. 1, 2, 3. Well, we would be able to do it with Kiora. Questing Beast, give it +3/+3. Of course, Questing Beast doesn't have trample, so. Alright, opponent's going to be thinking, like, alright, do they have a way to answer a hasty threat? They're just going to hardcast their Colossal, yeah. Bounce our Kiora, I imagine. No, it's target creature. Alright, well. So now they feel more confident. They can go ahead and swing in with everybody. And put us to dead next turn. What is our only draw out of this? Okay, well, so what we need is, we need a Questing Beast to draw us into an Assassin's Trophy. Or a Gold Vein Hydra to draw us into an Assassin's Trophy. We still have a chance. And we draw a land. Alright, well, for CyclesGaming.com, this is Johnny Cycles. I'll catch y'all on the next one. This has been another edition of Keeping Modern Janky with Johnny Cycles. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my website, CyclesGaming.com, for original Magic the Gathering content. You can read about my Commander decks or my Janky Modern brews. My latest article is about the Zombie Precon and its effect on Commander. I give you a couple different deck lists. If you're interested in a science fiction / fantasy novel, be sure to check out my book, The Podcon. I'm publishing it serially, a couple chapters every month. Again, thanks for watching. Check me out on YouTube, Johnny Cycles. Click that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the next one.